If you are thinking about moving to the Aledo area and have either never visited or never got a chance to really drive around and check it out, this is the video for you. Okay, so before I jump into this map video where I'm gonna explore Google Maps and show you where everything is and how it functions together, I wanna give the disclaimer that this is not a which neighborhood should I buy at, or how do I find a house, or pros and cons of this neighborhood versus that neighborhood. This is a video to help you get a grasp of the area so that you have a framework to start narrowing down the areas of the Aledo ISD attendance zone that you would want to fall in. So we're going to cover everything from like where the school boundaries are, to the major thoroughfares, to the neighborhoods that are off of those, to the pros and cons of areas or living off certain roads, to some of the major development, some of the construction issues, and maybe the routes or the distances that you would be from certain areas. So I'm going to cover a lot of that. We're going to be in the Google Maps, and hopefully this gives you a good conceptual idea of the Aledo area and how it fits into the life that you are trying to create when you move here. Okay, now before we jump into the weeds, I do want to give you a pretty good overview of where Aledo is in comparison to the rest of the Metroplex. So Aledo is going to be over here on the west side of Fort Worth, meaning you're going to have about a 20-ish, depending on where you're at. So you can have as little as a 20-minute drive to downtown Fort Worth, or maybe if you are kind of a little further off the highway, you could turn that into 25, 30, maybe 35 minutes without, big bad traffic, but that would be really pushing it depending on where you're at. Now, I do have a lot of clients who are also like pilots. So they might be flying out of the DFW airport. So you can get to the airport relatively easy. A lot of times you're going to come up 820 to 183 to 121 or whatever, one of these ways going in here. But the thing is you're probably going to want to take the toll roads or the express lanes. So on a normal morning, right? So this is not like going in the middle of the day where there's no traffic. In a normal morning, I can typically get to the airport in about 55 minutes, but I am taking the express lanes and paying those tolls, which is well worth it for me. For the most part, I'm also one of those weirdos that likes to get to the airport when they tell you to, which is like 2 hours before your flight. I know not everyone's like that. So let's get all that cleared off, and then let's scroll in. So we're gonna come over here. Now you can see where Aledo is. You can start to see some other cities and names, and we're going to cover a bunch of stuff. We're really going to give you the lay of the land in Aledo so that when you start looking at neighborhoods, you kind of understand what that means for like how you're going to be living your life and your drive times and where you're going to be going. So let's drive in, let's zoom in here, and I want to show you the Aledo ISD school boundaries. So Aledo has kind of a weird boundary zone, right? It is not square, and it is certainly not just Aledo. The city of Aledo is like that big. So you've got a lot of other cities that are going to feed into Aledo ISD. So as we are looking closer to what we typically call Aledo, we have multiple cities that feed into Aledo ISD. Because again, the city of Aledo is like, it's like this. It's not very big. Population's like maybe sub 5,000 people. But you have obviously all of Aledo. You have a lot of the city of Willow Park jurisdiction feeds into Aledo ISD. Some parts of Hudson Oak feed into Aledo ISD. Technically, Walsh has a city of Fort Worth address, even though it's in Aledo ISD, and you pay city taxes to Fort Worth way over here. And then you have Aneta South is a municipal services to some neighborhoods. And then you have a large amount of unincorporated areas. So I live in what might be considered Aneta or Aneta North, but it's outside city limits. Then you have some areas that are considered like Weatherford, Weatherford mailing addresses. So which is, Weatherford's over here. So there's a lot of areas that I sometimes just say, hey, you're looking to buy an Aledo, and now I'm sending you homes that have a Willow Park address, or I'm showing people with homes with a Hudson Oaks address or a Weatherford address, and sometimes people can get a little bit confused. So I like to let people know that, one, when it comes to what a lot of times we reference as Aledo, we're talking about what feeds into the schools, which is the primary driver, obviously, of a lot of people moving here. So let's keep going. I want to give you, some of these attendance zones and kind of where some of the major schools are. So you've got the high school right over here by Parks of Aledo. You got the high school here, and you have the 9th grade campus here. So that's good to know. You have a middle school. You have right over here, McAnally Middle School. That's one of the middle schools here. And then you have Aledo Middle. Let's scroll that right down here. So there's 2 middle schools. And since I already showed them, you get one here and one here. Now, I do have that attendance zone map to show you guys. Take a quick look at that. That's how it's currently broken down. And then you have a variety of elementary schools. I'm not going to show you all those. We're going to just show you what that attendance zone map looks like. And this is probably going to continue to change over the years as we are adding more elementary schools, right? Kelly Ranch down here is probably going to get one in the near future. They're going to be adding a few more in the next couple of years as well. Okay, now this is one of the most beneficial things we can cover is we're going to cover some of the major thoroughfares, and then we're going to cover which neighborhoods or popular neighborhoods sit along those thoroughfares and maybe some of the pros and cons. So I'm going to see how much I can zoom in here. I think I probably can tell you where most are, even though the street names might not be showing on Google Maps. So here you go. You have 20 right here. This is actually 30. This is 20. They join and become I-20. You have the Walsh exit here. This is Farmer Road 3325 on the north side and 1187 on the south side, which is the Aledo exit. Next, you have the Ranch House Road exit right over here. Over here, you have the FM5 or Micus exit. I'm going to show you how these connect in a minute. And then right over here, where you can't quite see it, is the HEB. So that's kind of the Hudson Oaks exit and the HEB over there. Now, how does all this stuff fit together? So one, you have Walsh, which is kind of all on its own. It's one exit. Now, the Aledo exit, 1187, comes down south through downtown Aledo and actually juts out over here. And 1187 goes all the way down here and then this is the Bella Flora neighborhoods. I have an entire video on understanding the Bella Flora neighborhoods. But if you live way down here, there's a potential that you need to be worried about the school district because the ISD attendance zone runs like this. So you need to be careful about what you're looking at over here. Some of it's Fort Worth, some of it is Aledo. And then Kelly Road comes down this way and connects to Bear Creek, and then further down connects to 377, and that's where Kelly Ranch is, near 377 and Kelly Road. Ranch House is very short. It goes north into some neighborhoods. It dead ends here into Bankhead. Bankhead runs this way, and there is an entrance. This is where the schools come out. Sorry, the buses come out of the school property, but Bankhead runs like this and is kind of a secondary artery. I oftentimes come to work. I live over here, so I get on the access road and I come down Bankhead and I come to my office. This is where my office is. Now let's jump over to FM5. This is where it actually gets really helpful to understand what's going on. So FM5 is 2 exits past Aledo, and it comes down here. It comes down and around and down and down, and FM5 curves, and you get this, and it comes all the way around. It comes all the way back up and connects to 1187. So you get this big U shape right here. Now you've got Old Aneta, which cuts this off right about here. It's something right around there. So FM5 and 1187 make this loop, which really is kind of the heart of what is Aledo ISD. Lots of the original developments are in and around this area, but this isn't everything. There's a big chunk over here. Now, you have a Bear Creek Road. This is one that's important to know because you have Bear Creek Ranch, you have Maryville Estates. I'll talk about those in a minute. To get here, you have to hop off over here. Then you have to go down Savage, which I guess is right around here, and you hit Bear Creek. Bear Creek Road comes this way, goes down, and you can see it actually connects Kelly, Bear Creek, they start to connect, and then they hit to 377 down here. So those are the major thoroughfares in the Aledo area. One actual important note, because we have so much construction going on 30 and on 20 right now, as I record this, so probably shortly before this video gets released, they're actually shutting down this section of 30 over here to blow up a bridge, and they're doing it all weekend, and they're going to rebuild it supposedly in like 3 days. So we'll see how that goes. But there is a road called Aledo Iona that goes over here and connects to Benbrook, that actually comes and loops around and connects to 1187 just south of downtown, which is a good back road to try to get in and out of. Now there's one other road. This is Old Weatherford, connects the back side of Walsh to the front edge of Morningstar, and that comes down and around through here, and it is another way to get into Fort Worth. But these are not normally efficient ways to do it. Normally the only efficient way to get into Fort Worth is coming through the highways. Now, when 30's backed up, you can come down 20 and then go up 377, or you've got Chisholm Trail a little bit further out of this screenshot right here. So we need to talk about the railroad track. Now, why do I bring up the railroad track? Let's actually do that as a blue color. The railroad track comes right here. One, it's important to note that if you're close to the railroad track, you might hear the train coming. That's not supposed to blow its horn like regularly, but it does. And I think it's like when stuff's on the tracks. Secondly, if you are on the south side of the railroad track, it is quite possible if you're trying to get to the highway, you're going to get stuck behind the train, depending on when you come in and out. So that can be an annoyance, but it is not the end of the world unless it stops and just doesn't move, which happened once to me. So no idea what happened, but we're going to clear all this up and we're going to talk about some of the major neighborhoods. So there are some neighborhoods that are further up this direction, which we'll talk about in a minute. All right, but before we actually move on, some of the pros and cons. So I am going to have to back out of here because I want to show you. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more so you can kind of see this a little bit better and just know my lines might be approximate. Okay, so over here, you've got Bear Creek coming down here. You've got Kelly Road right here. You've got 1187 coming down here. And then Bear Creek comes up to Savage. Okay, so I'm going to kind of recreate this. This is the approximate, okay, right here, going this way, and here's that. That's not that big a deal. So over here is FM5, excuse that. Over here you've got 1187, and then over here you've got Bear Creek. That's terrible, but just deal with me, okay? So if you are looking at anything along Bear Creek, there's no direct route to get to the high school. Right? So if you have high school kids, if you're on the south side, you're going to have to go south and then up Kelly Road to get here. If you're closer on this northeastern edge of Bear Creek, you're going to come up and around and probably around here. So it can add some time. And if you have middle school aged kids, you're going to have to come up to the middle school and then get to the highway, go to work, whatever that looks like. So just know that depending on where you're at, if you are, so I live like right over here. I live real close to the highway. I get right on the highway. It's easy for me to get in and out. If you live over here, like this is La Madera, you're maybe 10 minutes from the highway. Now you're going to add drive time. So that's something to think about. So pros and cons, let's talk about some different pros and cons of different areas. And we're going to start kind of on the south side and move up. If you live anywhere along the 377 corridor, you're going to want to use 377 to get into Fort Worth. Now, that's not the end of the world. You're going to drive through Benbrook. That is old highway, but now there's lights when you go through Benbrook. So that's one thing to think about. I don't love driving through Benbrook. It does get pretty busy and backed up with lights and traffic and stuff. But where that gets really potentially not ideal is if you have non-driving children and you have to drive them back to the schools, then you have to go into Fort Worth because you don't get to drive straight. You got to go up to the highway or you come back down and go up 377. Okay, so anything along the 377 corridor, you're going to be using 377 and you're going to have to be kind of backtracking to get to the schools. Now, what about Bear Creek? Like I mentioned earlier, Bear Creek, there's really no direct path to get anywhere if you live in Bear Creek or Maravilla. So you're going to come down south and go wherever you're going to go, or you're going to go back west and go back wherever you're going to go. So that's going to add drive time, and if you're just looking at your maps, then the direct distance isn't far, but you can't drive that way. Now, one important thing to note is I've seen Google Maps do this a lot. I've had clients, they were in Bear Creek and they were trying to map themselves up into Aledo downtown, and Google Maps tried to take them through La Madera, which is right here. La Madera is one of the high-end exclusive gated neighborhoods. There is a gate on the back side of La Madera that connects to Bear Creek. It, however, is closed at all times, and only residents are able to open that gate. So you will not be able to take that. I have had clients that were driving around the day before we looked at homes, and their map took them that way, and they just sat at the gate trying to figure it out. And then they realized, hey, that's not going to open for us. So if you are on kind of this FM5 1187 loop, we're going to figure this out. Okay, so that goes here. You've got Old Aneta roughly here, wherever that is. If you're below the train tracks, you have the possibility of getting stuck behind the trains, right? I have my uncle and cousin all live off Old Aneta. It's actually pretty convenient. It's maybe 10 minutes off, eight-ish minutes off the highway, not too bad. But again, down here at the very bottom tip, you're going to drive through at least one school zone to get to the highway. One over here where Aneta Elementary is, or two, you have an elementary school and a middle school right here. And then you're going to, be able to shoot through. So you're going to be 10-ish, 12 minutes off the highway, depending on traffic, if you live down here. Now, this is not all like, don't do this. It's just something important to realize. You might say, oh, Aledo's 20 minutes from downtown. Well, yeah, but you could add 5 to 10 minutes depending on where you live in Aledo easily. And if you live in Walsh, that's super easy. You're super close to the highway, and there's you're not gonna have any of the extra Aledo traffic. Right now, there is a lot of traffic on the highway with all the construction that's going on. And then this is Morningstar right here off the Aledo exit. So, okay, well, let's talk about some of the major neighborhoods along these corridors. So coming down 377, you're gonna have Maverick, which I have videos on Maverick and Blue Jack Ranch if you want to check those out if you are looking for luxury golf course communities. Those are the ones to check out. So you're going to have Maverick right here. You're going to have the Bella Flora neighborhoods here. You're going to have a little smaller neighborhood, Woodland Meadows, right here. And then a little further down, this is where you're going to get Kelly Ranch and Blue Jack Ranch. So all that's going to be pretty close, very convenient to the 377 corridor, right? And now let's cover Bear Creek. So that's going to come up this way. The primary neighborhoods of note, there's other neighborhoods here, but you have Bear Creek Ranch and you have Maravilla Estates and Maravilla Vistas. I bring those up because one of them has no HOA and it's a newer construction neighborhood, which makes it kind of unique if that's what you're looking for. Over here at the other end, at the far end of Bear Creek, this is near FM5. You have Summit Ranch. This is one of the newest higher end neighborhoods. This is gated. You have homes ranging from maybe $1 million to 1.3. Currently, that price point may go up in the future. If you're looking to build, that's a neighborhood where you can build custom homes. Now, let's come over here off FM5. This is going to be mostly pre-existing neighborhoods, like older developed neighborhoods. So right here in the neighborhood I live in, you have McDavid Estates. Across the road, you have Stone Creek Farms. Both great neighborhoods. Stone Creek is a little higher end. It's gated, beautiful, rolling hills, lots of trees. My neighborhood is also beautiful, lots of trees. It is not gated, and just the original construction isn't quite as high end as Stone Creek. So that's great. You have, some neighborhoods coming down here. Bella Vista, you have some other ones here that are worth looking at, but really they're kind of small. So really you don't have anything super significant till you start to get down here. This is where at the bottom edge you have La Madera. So that is like the OG original luxury neighborhood in Aledo. It's gated. There's no amenities. There's no pools, stuff like that. This is just a high-end, expensive neighborhood. If you're familiar with Landman, they recorded some video in this neighborhood, or some of that show was recorded in this neighborhood. And that's down here. They're currently in the last phase, phase 7. They're building, they're selling lots, and that's the last phase. So if that's something you're interested in, reach out to me, let me know. Then you have Aledo Heights, which is right here next to it. That's an interesting neighborhood I have a video on, but about 1 acre lots where you don't have your own well because that's a neighborhood well. So I have clients in there. That's an interesting one. You have Deer Creek is this big neighborhood here. That's a good neighborhood, slightly older homes, but you can buy stuff there ranging from the 400s to the 600s or a little bit more. So with a little bit of land. So that's great. Now you're going to come through here. You're going to have some older Aledo neighborhoods here and over here and over here. And then where you get to the really notable ones, you got Parks of Aledo right here. So that's going to be your big one off the Aledo exit down here. And real quickly, you've got some neighborhoods coming down. You got lots of little neighborhoods here and there. You've got like Saddle Ridge, I think, is right here. That's a good one off 1187. It's small, it's gated, it's like 50 homes. But you've got some neighborhoods over here that are just, more residential, normal neighborhoods, right? Up here, so you're going to go north of 20 off 1187. This turns into Farmer Road 3325. You have Morningstar. That's the very affordable, big HOA. They have an elementary school that's attached to them now, so kind of like a master plan community, multiple pools, all that stuff. Then Walsh, let's not forget Walsh. That's right here off the 20 kind of corridor as well. And one neighborhood, if you're looking for land, an acre or so, and you want heavily treed, there's a couple of options up here. You have Covered Bridge Canyon up here. That's a great neighborhood. It's beautiful. A variety of home values in there. You can get really large homes, really ornate homes. You can get some like normal, nice homes on land. Still gonna be $800,000-$900,000, but you can also get stuff up to 1.2, 1.3, 1.6, depending on what you're looking at. Something important to note is the top edge of this neighborhood actually feeds into Aledo ISD, so make sure that you don't look too far north in this neighborhood. And then if you want newer construction still on a little bit of land, you can look at Aledo Bluffs, which is around here. And then you've got some older developed neighborhoods, a little bit like Covered Bridges. You got Remuda Ranch and Tiara Ranch over in this area as well. So all Aledo ISD. Again, parts of this are Aledo ISD as well. Some newer neighborhoods, but these are the ones that are notable. So if you're looking and you say, oh, hey, well, where's this Deer Creek neighborhood? Okay, it's over here, right? You're going to be coming in either on Old Aneta or you're going to be coming in off the south edge of FM5. If you're looking at Aledo Heights, that's over here. So it's important to know in general what the drive time might be. So that's why I want to show you all of this and where things are sitting. Okay, now let's talk about shopping for a minute. And I'm going to zoom in pretty good because I'll be honest, this is one of the weaknesses of the Aledo area currently, but it is getting better. So we're going to talk about shopping and dining. And I think this is probably a good zoom in for what we want to talk about. So if you live in the Aledo area, you have a couple of primary outlets that you're going to use. So one, Willow Park is being developed, has a good commercial strip being developed right here. You have a couple of good restaurants. You have Cork and Pig, you have Sunny Street Cafe, you have Melt, the ice cream shop, and you have a variety of other things there. So you got some decent, some good dining. Cork and Pig is awesome. Actually, I don't want to even say that's decent. I love Cork and Pig. It's been open for a couple months now. It is a well-added addition to the area. And if you're looking for shopping over here, this is Hudson Oaks. So this is outside of Aledo ISD, but this is where you're going to get, the H-E-B, you've got a Walmart, you've got all sorts of other, fast food, you got casual dining, you got some nicer dining, you've got the Chick-fil-A over here, you got the Dairy Queen over here, all that stuff. And then over here, again, on the other side of Willow Park, this side of Willow Park, you have a Brookshire's, which is another grocery store. You have a barbecue place. You have a pho place. You have a taco place, Fuzzy's Tacos. You have the Chicken Express. So you do have some decent dining options over here as well. I think they're putting in a new Mexican restaurant. So that's a good spot to go check out. Honestly, the pho place is really good. I've enjoyed that. And then you get to over in the actual Aledo area. So you've got a little commercial strip here, but really the only real restaurant of note is Jake's Burgers right here. Good, solid, family friendly. Got a big back patio. Got a big enclosed backyard space. Kids can run around. We like taking our kids there. And you got some nicer dining. You got a Press Cafe, which is really, really nice. You've got Dane's Craft Barbecue, which was top 7, I think number 7 in Texas this year. which is amazing, but check the dates. They're not open Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, I don't think. You've got coffee shop over here and the Aledo Diner. You do have some stuff over here. For years, when me and my wife lived here, we complained that East Parker County did not have any good dining options, and we always felt like we had to drive into Fort Worth for dining. That is changing. Oh, what else we have over here? We have Parker County Ice House. Parker County Brewing is right here. Parker County Brewing took over Parker County Ice House location, so that's great. I think a new pizza place is going in over here. So there's some good dining options, and it is improving, and I think it will continue to improve. Now, shopping, not much like normal shopping. So we got if you want Costco, that's over here and just on the edge of Weatherford. You've got the Walmart, but if you want high end, I'm going to clear this out and show you where kind of the higher end shopping is. So let's make you can see that. Clear Fork. That's going to be your best high-end shopping. And then you could go all the way to University. So like the Apple stores over here. But over here, you've got like the Louis Vuitton store. You got the Rolex store. You got the high-end steakhouses. This is kind of that like outdoor walking mall with high-end stuff. You got a big AMC, the big parking garage that's in the center of everything. So that's where we go for a lot of our date nights, or we have historically. We recently just, went to, because of the highways getting so bad, we didn't want to go into Fort Worth, went to Press Cafe. They have like a second story dining area that has glass windows everywhere. You can look out over downtown Aledo. They had a good happy hour. So our complaints, me and my wife's complaints over the poor dining quality in Aledo is definitely changing as a whole. There's some great options. Now, I would put the great options as a handful of options. I think Cork and Pig, I think Danes, I think Press. I'd put Jake's in there and one or two others of like great options. And then other options are good, satisfactory. And if you're looking for dining options and you want recommendations, happy to chat with you offline. But if very high-end dining and you want that very close to you is a priority, that's not something you're really going to get in most places in Aledo. I think that Cork and Pig and Press are probably the closest thing you're going to get to high-end dining in the Aledo area, but they aren't steakhouses. Okay, now before we finish this, let's talk about future development. So the biggest thing of note for future development is going to be a couple of ranches that are being developed or will be developed, and then the Walsh expansion. So you have Beggs Ranch, which is here, and possibly some of this. But Beggs Ranch is going to be some mixed use. There's definitely going to be some mixed use commercial space right here. Retail, apartments, all that stuff. I don't know if this corner is exactly Beggs Ranch or not, but that's all going to be developed. Dean Ranch down here is also going to be developed. And then this strip here is also going to be developed. So you're going to get a lot of commercial development at the Aledo corridor. And then you're also going to get commercial development as a part of the greater Walsh development. So Walsh is the neighborhood, but the Quail Valley, I think, is the name of the overall larger development that's going to continue and go south even of 20 and includes the UTA West campus. So UTA West is coming in here. Commercial space is coming in here. Groceries, they're going to move an H-E-B over here. I don't know what's going to happen with the H-E-B we have in Weatherford right now, if they'll move that or not. But we're getting an H-E-B. We're getting good grocery stores over here. So there's going to be a lot of development over here in the coming years, which is part of why they are also working on the highways right now. And in TxDOT's infinite wisdom, they decided to work on both 20 and 30 at the same time. There's going to be traffic here and construction here for the foreseeable future for the next couple of years at varying degrees, right? So this coming weekend, as I record this, probably the week before you see this video, this whole section of 30 is going to be totally shut down for a weekend, right? It's going to cause a huge mess, and hopefully they actually finish it on time. And if you come look south, you're going to get Maverick Ranch, you're going to get Blue Jack Ranch, you're going to get Kelly Ranch. A few thousand homes are going to be added across these neighborhoods. I think about 500 in Maverick, about 500 in Blue Jack, and probably I don't know if it's like 2,000 over here in Kelly Ranch. Then you're adding homes here. So you're going to be adding a lot of traffic coming up 377. But all of these are already in development. They're just early stages. For Maverick and Blue Jack, Kelly Ranch is, still early, but you can see it well. And then Bear Creek, really is pretty low percentage on the build out. So that's coming. I'm sure there's going to be more development, but that's the big stuff we have in the works right now. Okay, now as a final tidbit before we leave the map and wrap up this video, here's my recommendations. If you are looking for a shorter or the most effective commute time into Fort Worth, you probably want to be north of the railroad tracks, fairly close to the highway. You want to buy probably in this box. If your primary driver is commute time, you still have a variety of new construction neighborhoods, homes on an acre or so, treed, good, mature neighborhoods. You have a variety of things you can pick from. If you're like, hey, I really want to focus on like the serenity, the drive out, I want to focus on the rolling hills, I want a little bit of land, then you're going to start looking maybe up here. The problem with up here is you're so far away from everything else in the Aledo area. But if you're driving into Fort Worth or you work at a Lockheed or the Joint Reserve Base, this could be a great option coming in down White Settlement Road. You get to cut in here. It's super fast. If you're like, hey, I want something high end. I want a nice property. I want to feel a little bit exclusive. I want a little bit more land. South of the railroad tracks, there's some good options down here, right? And then I got a client right now. Their office is going to be over here. So for them, living down here is kind of one of the best options, right? So there are general areas that are going to maybe work best for drive times, but you're going to have to balance that with the product you're looking for. And that's something I can help with. Okay, so I know that video was kind of long and a little bit different than a lot of the other stuff I do, but I really wanted to help you understand where everything is and kind of how it flows and functions and what kind of like you should expect based on different areas. So if you are considering that move to the Aledo area, reach out to me in advance. Let's have a conversation. I love to get those conversations started early. That way you have the most time to prepare before maybe that first trip, maybe before that job interview is finalized, maybe get a trip down here and take a look around, actually drive the areas and see what you think. So if I didn't answer any of your questions, or if you have more questions based on what I said, put that in the comment section below. And until next time.